Hello and welcome to my latest episode of Fan Rebooking, where I take a look at some of the gimmicks, the personalities, the rosters, the events, etc. from the history of pro wrestling, and as a fan, put my own spin on it in a hypothetical fantasy football-esque way. This series is inspired by the excellent Guest Booker series by KFAB Commentaries, highly recommended for anyone that's interested in the creative side of pro wrestling. My goal generally being that after watching that series and disagreeing with some of the ideas that some of the bookers they had on there came up with, that just seemed a little bit still in the box, if you will. I thought I would do some of my own versions of what they did, and some other things as it occurred to me in my own style, from my own point of view. So this one is Doink the Clown. How could they have used Doink the Clown better? Because he started off as a very interesting gimmick. I mean, it was very interesting for quite a while, and then it turned into a goofy comedy thing. But when it first started, he was the scary clown. He had that great entrance music that was fucking terrifying. Because lots of people hate clowns or are scared of clowns. So, I mean, that was the sort of thing that it wouldn't necessarily just scare kids. I mean, he was, it kind of came across as, there's something wrong with this guy, I wouldn't want to fuck with him. Kid, adult, it was a good gimmick for a heel. A kind of a messed up, creepy heel. So what would I have done with him? Well, let's say we're going to go back about 2 months before WrestleMania, which is where he had his first big match against Kono Crush. And I'm going to go up to WrestleMania 8. And my end game here is I want Doink against Undertaker. Now, obviously at the time they wouldn't have the benefit of having seen Batman, but to me that is just a perfect Batman versus Joker sort of scenario, with the basic idea being that you have this creepy-ass clown guy that is trying to get the dead man, Undertaker, to smile and laugh, and he can't fucking do it. So, it's just, to me, that just popped into my head, and it's like, that's fucking money right there. And it would have been. So, my month or two of lead up to this, I'm not going to spend a whole lot of time, going into the details of this, because it's a pretty simple storyline that I think it would have been vastly superior to Undertaker versus that Giant Gonzalez guy, or whatever he was called, which was just a piece of shit. The dude couldn't hardly move when he got in the ring. I mean, the match was horrible. The lead up to it was horrible. There was nothing good about the whole thing at all. But you have Doink versus Undertaker, with Doink pulling all these sadistic pranks, trying to get the dead man to laugh. At first being kind of like, I want to be your buddy. I'm going to make you laugh, Undertaker. And then, over time, it ain't happening. Undertaker's not going to laugh, no matter what. Then that's when Doink starts turning on him, and eventually leads to the feud, which culminates, it blows off, possibly continues. I mean, but knowing the way that WWF/E was booking at that time, a couple of months with a blow-off match would actually be long for them and more consistent than most of what they did, a lot of what they did. So you can still have some of the same stuff that they did with Doink to start with, his pranks on, Boss Man and others, and you just incorporate this extra tidbit that he's doing it because he's he wants to be buddies with the Undertaker, and he wants the Undertaker to laugh. He wants to get the dead man to lighten up and laugh. because they're both really, really dark characters, and they have that in common, but you have this one who is just, stoic, and the other one who is kind of sadistic and bounces back and forth between jovial and just nasty and mean and pissed off at everything. So, you start with, the basic stuff that they did with him, but then over a matter of a month or so, a couple of months, you would put him in against some people that people like. And maybe Kerry Von Erich as the Texas Tornado is somebody you could stick him in there with, because we also want to showcase the fact that this guy can actually go in the ring, because that's something that nobody gives Doink credit for, was that he could actually put on a good wrestling match. He was a total package. He was a total threat, or complete. You know what I'm trying to say. He had it all. That gimmick took him and made him something that would stand out where he wouldn't necessarily have stood out on his own. It gave him a platform to express himself, and he did so very well, but they never saw that potential and went with it. So we want to showcase that he's this dark, sinister, sadistic individual. So you stick him in there with some people that, the clean-cut, white meat baby faces, as they're called, like Texas Tornado, Kerry Von Erich. Maybe even up against some guys like Mr. Perfect, possibly Shawn Michaels, even other heels, because that's one of the great things about this character, is that he doesn't necessarily have to be just heel or babyface. He's one of those ones that if they had the balls at the time, they could have made it ambiguous as to just what the hell this guy was. Is he just kind of a sick prankster, or is he a real sadistic, nasty son of a bitch? And, build that up over a period of a couple of months. So you put him in there against both sides. Like I said, the white meat babyface types like Texas Tornado, Kerry Von Erich, but then also some of the more heelish guys like Mr. Perfect. Perhaps get him in there against... I do have a roster here from those couple of months leading up to WrestleMania 8. Let's see. British Bulldog would have been a good one. The Mountie. Like every other week. Had 1 week a babyface, a decent worker babyface. Then a heel. A decent worker that's a heel. Owen Hart, another good one. Maybe Papa Shango, and and kind of maybe work it into a three-way storyline involving those three, and you could have it end up with them all working together as kind of this, supernatural crazy guys, or who's the most evil of the bunch, who's really the supernatural evil guy. There's lots of different ways you could do it, but at least up to Undertaker, it would basically be Doink going up against these guys and winning, and maybe, cheat against the heels and win clean on the baby faces, but everybody gets pranked in some way at the end of the match. A pie in the face, the squirt from the flower, some weird little joke, and sometimes, not every single time, but sometimes just put a little bit of sadistic quality into the joke. Usually it's just more or less a harmless prank, and then every now and again there's something a bit more sinister going on here. So when did Doink debut? Maybe I'm thinking incorrectly and he was on a different pay-per-view. But I could have sworn that he was in a match on that WrestleMania. Doink was with Crush. Oh no, it was WrestleMania 9 in 93 at Caesar's Palace. Ooh, well, that makes things a little bit more difficult if I was wrong about the entire roster at that point. Damn. Roster in 93. We need the rosters for April and March-ish. Because I'm afraid poor old Von Erich may have already been gone, and perhaps gone by that point. I don't remember. So we could still have him go up against Shawn Michaels, Mr. Perfect, the Mountie, a Big Boss Man, of course, Owen Hart, Papa Shango. We could go ahead and give him his Crush match just earlier instead of on the damn pay-per-view. Maybe before we really got there, I would want some lead up, because he first appeared in late 92, I guess. I had my years off, so I would have him feud with one person for a little while and build up the Undertaker storyline. But who would it be? We need somebody who wasn't really doing much of anything at that time. Owen Hart, I don't think, was really doing a whole lot, so we could use Owen Hart and have Owen be afraid of clowns. And really just set up that this guy likes fucking with people. So you do run that for a little while and include the matches with other people that finishes with some sort of a match in March against Owen that really just shows how mean and nasty Doink it can be and cement him as a heel. And then from March up until WrestleMania, you set up that he's getting tired of Undertaker either ignoring him or just, never laughing. So then at WrestleMania, you get Doink going up against Undertaker. Skip the stupid clone gimmick and just let him have a damn match. But I would say let Doink win with some sort of weird, nasty, practical joke gimmick, and then let him keep feuding for a while, because I believe at that point Undertaker was in his we're not going to do anything but put him up against big dudes and look like crap because he's in there with crap. So we actually will have Undertaker feuding with Doink for a while. And like I said, this doesn't need a whole lot of detail work to it. It's just a simple rebooking for one guy and how you could make him work better. And I know that actually having that kind of a storyline in 92, 93 was probably more advanced than WWF/E would have been willing to do. But it's still not a really deep storyline by any stretch. It's just this clown character wants to get the stoic dude to laugh because they share this macabre quality in common. So, and they both have different ways of showing it and dealing with it. So you have one that's just trying to bring the other dude over to his way of thinking, and it's not working, so he's going to get pissed off and turn against him, even though he wants to be his buddy. So, yeah, I think that's how I would have done it, and I think both Doink and Undertaker would have come out looking better, because, you know, I'm not going to say that Undertaker, you know, he was able to survive that period in WWF history when pretty much anybody that got beat by Hogan, you know, basically got turned into nothing but a jobber after that. He managed to survive all that and really come into his own in the mid-late 90s. You know, he was always popular, but he really took off and became huge later. Some of the matches he had with, like, Austin, for example, and, you know, all the great matches that people talk about when it comes to Undertaker happened in the mid to late 90s. You know, you're talking Hell in the Cells and Austin and all that stuff. That all happened later, after he developed more personality and got away from the supernatural gimmick, which was cool for its time, but, you know. So, yeah, that's how I would have used Doink. To me, you know, again, without the benefit of Batman and the Joker as an example. I mean, they were around for decades, way before Undertaker and Doink, of course. But I don't know if, without the benefit of, like, Batman the Animated Series and the latest Batman movies, I don't know if they would have ever made that connection. But, you know, this is all a hypothetical fantasy thing. And it would have been badass to see, in my opinion, just that the clown and the stoic, dark, you know, two equally dark characters, but very contrasted in how they're dark, clashing up against each other. I think that would have been a really interesting feud. And then you could have gotten Papa Shango in the mix, and it could have been really interesting. But alas, it wasn't to be. But tell me what you think of the idea. If you think that would have worked, if you think it's garbage, you know, upvote, downvote, leave your comments, subscribe, share the video with your friends, and all that good stuff. Thank you for watching. I'll see you on the next one. Bye.